Hey, what is happening, you dumpster diving Dunspars? Today, we're taking a look at my first take on Gardevoir in the Temporal Forces rotation format. Before we take a listen, I break everything down for where I'm at with the Gardevoir. Gotta give a big shout out to Dragon Shield for supporting me and everything I do here on the YouTube channel. Check them out at dragonshield.com. They just dropped some new fire colors. They got the Soul Purple and the Power Green dual matte sleeves. Check them out, dragonshield.com. Link, of course, will be in the description. You can use code AzulGG as well over there to get yourself a discount. So Gardevoir did lose a lot going to rotation. I mean, I guess it really only lost one thing, and that is the Shining Arcana Gardevoir. I guess Level Ball was also a pretty big hit to get your Curlia set up. You also lost the Mirage Step Curlia. Okay, it lost a lot, all right? It lost a lot, but I think it's still pretty solid, and we'll have to wait and see for sure how good it actually is, because the Energy Acceleration of the Gardevoir EX, the Draw Power still of the Refinement Curlia is a incredible combo. It just kind of lacks in the attacker department and consistency department a little bit with that lack of Level Ball, but there's still definitely a way to play the deck. So let's go ahead and let's jump right into it. So we got our two Gardevoir EX still, of course, that didn't change. For Curlias, we would probably play Mirage Step if it was still legal, but it is not, so we're just down to the full Refinement. And because we're not attacking with the Shining Arcana Gardevoir anymore, it's a little bit less important for us to set up like a whole swarm of the Gardevoir line. We need a little bit less because our Curlias aren't going into the active and getting KO to Shining Arcana Gardevoirs anymore. They're staying on the bench where they're safe, hopefully. For Ralts, we still have the Teleportation Ralts, so I believe that is still probably the best Ralts to play. We got the one of Screamtail, which is one of our main attackers now in the deck. The Screamtail in here, I could definitely see playing two of these, but the new main attacker in the deck actually is the Drifloon. With that Balloon Blast attack, for each damage counter on this Pokemon, you do 30 times, well, you do 30 times the amount of damage counters on this Pokemon. So it's got 70 HP, so you can load up 3 energy onto the Drifloon without any tool attached to increase its HP, and we'll talk about the tools here in a second. And then you're hitting for 180 damage. And the tool cards that we're playing allow you to basically one-hit KO anything in the format with the Drifloon. It does unfortunately have to come through a tool card. So one of the things kind of holding Gardevoir back potentially is if it does get good enough and popular enough, your opponent can kind of just play Lost Vacuum and get kind of free prize cards when you go for big knockouts with Drifloon. They Lost Vacuum away your tool card, your Drifloon gets KO'd, and they also KO something else for their turn with their attack for turn. So that can make things a little bit rough for the deck now, is that it's super tool reliant, and Lost Vacuum is still in the format. I still have the Radiant Greninja in here, and I've seen a lot of Japanese lists not running this. I am playing 4 Nest Ball in my build, which is a card that I definitely saw lacking in other builds from Japan, and I think as long as I am playing 4 Nest Ball, I think I'll continue to include the Radiant Greninja. Battle VIP Pass is no longer in the format, so finding the Radiant Greninja has become a little bit of a problem. But if you're including the 4 Nest Ball, I think probably playing the Radiant Greninja still makes sense. But if I ever cut back on my Nest Ball count by quite a bit, I think I would probably cut the Radiant Greninja as well. We also don't play as much energy as we used to, but we're also not trying to build up energy through manual attachments anymore either. We're basically trying to just like get all of our energy into the discard pile so we can load it up on the Drifloon. We're not trying to attach for turn to like a Shining Arcana to get it to the point where it can take big one-hit KOs anymore. So all of our energy can be like just discarded through concealed cards pretty consistently, I still feel like. So I still have that in there. Manaphy to protect our bench from the Radiant Greninja attack, of course. And then I have Luminion here for some consistency through our ideal turn 1 play, which I'll talk about here in a little bit as well. I don't have the Jirachi in here quite currently. This list is very bare bones, and that's how I like to start building all of my decks, especially going into a new format, especially with rotation on top of that. We don't really know what the best decks are going to be for sure. I think the only deck right now that we're guaranteed to want to be able to beat is Charizard. I think this list can definitely beat Charizard fairly well, or about as well as you can. There's like one card I'll talk about that it's not included here, or I guess 2 cards that could help the Charizard matchup. But yeah, I'm basically very bare bones, not trying to overly tech one way or another. Our Lost Zone deck's probably going to be good. Probably some of them. Will they be able to attack with Sableye? Who knows? A lot of Lost Zone decks right now in the current format don't even play Sableye or Psychic Energy, so I don't know if the Jirachi is necessary, but obviously a consideration to include in the deck. Like I said, we're starting very bare bones, but there's plenty of room, and I'll talk about some of the spaces in this list where you could make cuts and make adjustments to include some tech cards for certain matchups, or to put something in there like the Jirachi. For the supporters, really straightforward here. For Iono, I've got the 4 Arven, of course, and this combos with our tool cards that we're going to be talking about here in a second. And then just 1 Boss's Orders, kind of like Guardy has been currently, and I don't really quite know how Guardy price trades in the new format. So it's possible that instead of Counter Catcher in this deck, we'd want a higher boss count, or maybe even a Palpad. I don't really like Palpad and Guardy, so I'd probably want to go with the second boss. But for right now, just the 1 Boss's Orders will do. Of course, we have like the Screamtail plus tool cards to be able to hit really big numbers on the bench, possibly. Let's get into these item cards, though. So we did lose Battle VIP Pass, but we did gain that Buddy Poffin. Search your deck for 2 70 HP basic Pokemon, 70 HP or less basic Pokemon, and put them onto your bench. So you can find our Ralts and our Drifloon and our Manaphy. That is it, but the Ralts, of course, are the most important thing to find as soon as possible. So we have 4 of these, and that does combo pretty well with Arven. Turn 1, Arven for Buddy Poffin, plus a tool card. And there's a really important tool card for the first turn that we can talk about here in just a second. I've got the 4 Nest Ball, like I was talking about. Tons of basic Pokemon search in this build. Now, this might be a little overkill. This is one of the points where I think there might be a little bit of overkill, is in the 4 Nest Ball. So cutting a Nest Ball, maybe even 2 Nest Ball, I could definitely see being a reasonable cut. And now, because I am playing so heavily into the turn 1 Arven with the Luminion, I am currently including 4 Ultra Ball, which is, once again, where we could maybe find some space here, is cut back on the Ultra Balls a little bit. Like I said, very straightforward, bare bones build, not trying to tech for anything. I mean, you definitely need Screamtail. Drifloon's the main attacker, so this is all needed. I guess Luminion, we maybe don't go the Luminion route. That could be a possible cut. But if we're just looking at pure consistency, I think the Luminion alongside the 4 Ultra Ball makes sense. 1 Heavy Ball, once again, just going that pure consistency route. We don't want to prize any of our important cards. And prizing a Ralts now got way worse. Now that we don't have access to something like Mirage Step, pricing our second Drifloon could be annoying. Pricing our 1 of Screamtail or our 1 of Manaphy can be really annoying. Probably not going to try and find the Heavy Ball for our Luminion, but I guess it could come up. So 1 of Heavy Ball in here. Once again, another card that I think is a little bit flexible and probably could become cut. Probably could be cut if we find a better card suited for what the meta ends up being. 2 Super Rod in here, to, of course, to recover our attackers. And then I have a Letter of Encouragement in here that when one of our Pokemon gets knocked out, we can search deck for 3 basic energy cards. Now, we do play the Arvens. So once our opponent takes a knockout, we could play this. We could play Arven for this, go get ourselves 3 energy. And I'm not sure if this is actually better than just playing more Earthen Vessels, but I have a 1-1 split in here for now because I really like the idea of something like the Letter, as long as we play a card like the Arven that can help us find our items whenever we want. We also plan on, like, not drawing the first prize card. We plan on our opponent drawing the first prize card in most games. So because of that, I kind of like the Letter of Encouragement, because once the prize trade starts happening, this is effectively a better Earthen Vessel, and can be the big difference maker I could see on that first search for energies to get enough energy to be able to actually use Drifloon or the Screamtail, or even attack with the Guardy EX to be able to get like the 3 energy. So still have a Vessel in here. I think you definitely want to find you definitely want to play 2 item cards that can find energy, because prizing 1 sounds like it would be pretty bad. For getting your energy out of the deck is a pretty big deal with how many less energy we play. I only have 8 Psychic energy in here right now. Now, you do only need like 5 or 6 to get the Drifloon up to the numbers where you're taking those big 1-hit KOs, but you play so much less of them that getting those 5 or 6 and finding those 5 or 6 to get them in the discard pile can be a little bit harder to do. I think 8 Psychic energy is probably a really comfortable number. If anything, if we find ourselves struggling to find energy, I would probably up the Vessel or Letter count as a response to that problem. Just 1 Rare Candy in here right now, and actually, honestly, I could see us playing 0 Rare Candy. I don't even know if this is worth playing, to be honest. I am playing TM Evolutions, 2 of them, so I'm playing heavily towards the TM Evolution. That's why I play the 4 Arven. That's why I play the Luminion. That's why I play the 4 Ultra Ball, so we can use a Luminion to find the Arven to use TM Evolution. So that whole combo kind of comes together. So the Rare Candy, I'm not even sure if we need, but I have it in here so we could possibly be aggressive on our second turn going first when we haven't had time to use the TM Evo quite yet. So I like the idea of the Rare Candy, but I could see if it's smooth enough around the TM Evolution to just cutting the Rare Candy and just going with the manual evolution from the Ralts to the Curlia to the Gardevoir. And it is sped up a little bit because of the TM Evolution. 1 Damage Pump, probably the big standout card here. Damage Pump allows us to move up to 2 damage counters from one of our Pokemon to our other Pokemon in any way we like, up to 2. So the reason we play this is Drifloon has 70 HP, and when we put a Bravery Charm on it, it gets up to 120 HP. And then if we load up 5 Psychic Energy onto our Drifloon with Gardevoir, it has 100 damage on it, which allows it to hit for 300 damage, which is not quite enough to actually take a 1-hit KO on a Charizard EX. It is a little bit short. But let's say we push a Gardevoir EX to our active at the beginning of our turn after we're up against a Charizard and they took a knockout. We can push up Charizard. We can load up 2 energy on the Gardevoir EX. It takes 40 damage. We then retreat it into a Drifloon. And then we put the Bravery Charm on the Drifloon. We accelerate 5 energies to the Drifloon. And then we Arven for Damage Pump, maybe and the Bravery Charm. And then we move the damage from Gardevoir to the Drifloon, which then allows Drifloon to hit for 330 damage. We just move 1 damage counter over to the Drifloon. Not 2, because if we move 2, we'd knock our own Drifloon out. So we don't want to do that. So you can move 1. Or you could like build up extra damage on the Drifloon and then move a damage off the Drifloon and then accelerate another energy to the Drifloon. So yeah, the damage pump helps us hit higher numbers with Bravery Charm on the Drifloon. It's one of those things I'm not sure it's actually worth including or not, to be honest, because we could just play, or we do just play tools that allow us to get to those big 1-hit KOs on a Charizard, but it does give us like an extra way to 1-hit KO a Charizard with Drifloon specifically. I do have that one of Counter Catcher in here. Like I said, I don't know if we want to go heavier in boss or heavier in Counter Catcher. Currently, it's just a 1-1 split, and I could definitely see us maybe wanting a third Gust effect for sure. I don't know if it should be a Counter Catcher or a boss. I just don't know how the prize trades break down with this deck, because I've played 0 games in the format. 1-4 Sealstone, we play 4 Arven, we play Luminion. Kind of makes sense. Now, the heavy hitting tool cards here. We got the Cape, the new ace spec, plus 100 HP to whatever Pokemon this is attached to. So basically, we put this on a Drifloon or the Screamtail, and it one-hit KOs anything. I mean, if they have Manaphy on the bench, Screamtail's not doing as much, obviously. But basically, the Cape makes these things just literally nuke whatever we want it to, namely the Drifloon, right? Next, we have a Luxurious Cape, which also does the same thing as the Hero's Cape, but it does increase the amount of prize cards the Pokemon is worth by 1. So we'd only use this as kind of like a closer up against a Charizard deck or something like that. We wouldn't want to like use this as often in the early game. Giving our opponent that extra prize card does not sound very good. So useful as a closer on our Drifloon. And then, of course, we have that one of Bravery Charm. And I could see going up to a second Bravery Charm. Once again, I just don't know what are the popular decks, how much extra HP do we need our Drifloons to have, and how many decks play how many vacuums, where we maybe want to include some extra tools. So one of Bravery Charm in here, like I said, it combos with the damage pump, but like theoretically in the Charizard matchup, we could take one big hit KO with the Hero's Cape, one big one-hit KO with the Luxurious Cape, and then maybe we piece together our other 2 prize cards from there. And maybe we don't even need anything like the damage pump, but the damage pump's really cool, so I have it in here for now. Then of course we have the one of Bravery Charm, like I mentioned, and then the last 2 tools are the Technical Machine Evolutions that we can use aggressively on that first turn of the game, combo it with the Arven to find it, or Luminion to get Arven to find it, to evolve our Ralts to Kirlias on that first turn going second. One thing I'm definitely going to have to discover with this deck is, do we want to go first or second? Because we have the team evolutions, it makes me think maybe going second would be a little bit better, but I think that depends on how fast the format is. And if a lot of people are choosing to go first, I think we'll probably want to choose to go first alongside them, and then we'll have the Technical Machine Evolutions as kind of a backup from there. But these are a pretty big deal into actually getting our Kirlia set up, because we don't have Level Ball anymore. I do have Ultra Balls, I do have 4 Kirlia, but we really are missing Level Ball with Gardevoir now to be able to aggressively get into our Kirlias, then use the refinements to find more Kirlias, and so on and so forth. So I think the Team Evolution helped a lot with that, even if it doesn't feel like we need to speed up our game plan by an extra turn through the TM Evolutions. They really are just the best way to find our Kirlias at this point, so it's probably worth including the double TM Evolution. And then lastly, I do have a Collapsed Stadium. This can be useful for removing our Luminion off the bench or removing a Gardevoir EX off the bench towards the end of the game. We can take a big knockout on one of our opponent's Pokemon. We remove our Gardevoir off the bench so there's not 2 prize liability, and hope I guess our opponent doesn't have a Lost Vacuum to get rid of our tool card. So a couple of attackers I will talk about that I think do have potential in this deck that I'm not quite including. Like I said, super vanilla list here. I'm not trying to tech for anything really. Like I said, the only thing I know for sure that I want to be able to beat is Charizard. Besides that, I don't know what the best decks are going to be. Charizard's good, but how popular is everything else going to be? No clue. But some other potential inclusions that we are going to go through here that you could possibly include, especially depending on what is popular in the meta, is 1, the Flutter Mane with the ability that shuts off your opponent's active Pokemon's ability. This is super powerful up against those Lost Zone decks to slow down their Comfey usage. So super powerful Pokemon for slowing down Lost Zone. Once again, I don't know how popular Lost Zone is going to be, so I don't know if I'd want to play this, but it's definitely a consideration. And then its attack for 3 colorless energy, does 90 damage and 20 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Up next is the Mimikyu EX. Having just a one card to search out of your deck to take big one-hit KOs sounds pretty good, to be honest. And that's what the Mimikyu, of course, can do for us. Now, I think the one thing that comes up a little bit short in my list currently is I probably just don't play enough energy to actually play this card. I think I would have to play a couple more energy to actually warrant playing the Mimikyu EX, because I think I come up a little bit short on the energy attachment. So if I did want to play this card, I think I'd have to play a couple more energy. I don't think the 8 is quite enough, but it works pretty much almost the exact same way as a Zacian, the Zacian V that we had before that is now rotated to like one hit KO a Charizard. You would need 9 basic Psychics on this, and you could like one hit KO a Charizard. But because I only play 8 Psychics, I think the list would have to adjust around this card a little bit, because with 9 Psychic energy on here, hitting into a Charizard, we're actually only hitting for 300 damage. So we come up 30 damage short, because it's 30 times the amount of energy attached to us and the opponent's active Pokemon. So we could KO some lower HP Pokemon like Arceus V-Stars and Giratina V-Stars, but even then we would need all 8 Psychic energy, and we'd have to have not a couple of them in our last few prize cards. So I think if I included this card, I'd have to go up to 9 or 10 basic Psychics. So I'm not too impressed by the Mimikyu EX. I'd maybe rather include like another tool card or something like that, just to help our Drifloons more so than anything. The Mimikyu, this is a card that I've seen in a lot of Japanese lists, and it's really good against the Charizard matchup to kind of slow them down. Get a Mimikyu in your active with a Bravery Charm, so the Charmeleon can't want to KO it, especially up against the B-Barrel builds of Charizard, where they can't go guarantee like a boss out of their deck turn after turn. The Mimikyu is pretty powerful at slowing down Charizard, so definitely a good consideration as well. I just don't know how well it actually pairs up into Charizard, especially when they have so many Gust effects, and Charmeleons do just kind of one-hit KO it. Also, Charizard is one of the few decks that is consistently running Lost Vacuum, so they'd be able to pretty easily remove your tool card from your Mimikyu as well. So not sold on the Mimikyu, of course, but I do have it as an option. The last one is the Mew EX. Now, when the Charizard player is down to 1 prize card, or you're up against a Lost Tina, or you're playing against a deck that plays Greninja but doesn't have Manaphy in play, or doesn't expect you to be playing the Mew EX, you can take advantage of the Mew EX to copy the Radiant Greninja attack, copy the Charizard attack if they're 1 prize card for a 1-hit KO, or anytime against a Tina deck, 1-hit KO their Tina by using Genome Hacking to copy the Tina's attack. So definitely a reasonable consideration. Once again, Drifloon, for the most part, can do most of those things with a tool card, so I don't know if the Mew EX is actually worth it. They can't do of course, Drifloon can't do the Greninja play, but yeah. And also, there's a little bit of draw power in the late game. Like, if you get Iono to 1, being able to restart up to 3 or 2, or get 2 or 3 off restart, and then go into your refinements to get that last final combo you need to close out the game, could be pretty cool. But Mew EX, I'm a little bit on the fence about overall. That's why it's not included in kind of my standard build here. Something definitely worth trying out, though, for sure. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it for my first take Gardevoir video. If y'all enjoyed the video, give it a like. Let me know in the comment section down below which decks you want to see me visit before Temple Forces does finally release and rotation hits, and maybe I'll do one of those. Catch y'all in the next video.